Once in a village, there lived an old woman. She was very poor, so poor that she didn't even have a roof over her head. She used to live under a bridge near the river and spend her days begging, but despite being poor, she had a very kind heart. One day, while going to the market to collect some food, she found a bag lying on the ground. When she opened it, she saw that it was full of grain. It must have been dropped by someone because it wasn't tied properly. She knew that if she kept the bag with her, she could eat it for many months. But at the same time, she thought it might belong to someone who needed it more than she did. After all, she could manage somehow, but what about the person who lost this bag? His or her family would be waiting for that bag, assuming that it contained their dinner, so she thought she should return it. But when she looked around to find the owner, she saw no one. The market was quite busy at the moment, but no one seemed to have lost a bag of grain. So the old woman left the bag on the ground and decided to go back home. While returning, she passed by a wheat field. It was huge and beautiful, but sadly, the old woman couldn't enjoy its beauty. Her eyes were fixed on the bag of grain she found in the market. How could she return it? She thought of keeping it for herself, but her heart wouldn't allow that. Finally, she came up with an idea. She went into the wheat field, sat down in the middle, and started eating the grain right there. "What are you doing?" a surprised voice asked. The old woman looked up and saw a young man standing in front of her. He must have seen her taking the bag of grain out of the field and was now wondering why she was eating it. The old woman simply replied, "I found this bag in the market. It wasn't tied properly, so I thought it'd be best if I return it to you." The young man was shocked after hearing her words. He couldn't believe that someone would find such a huge bag of grain and instead of keeping it, wanted to return it to him. He quickly asked, "Are you sure you found it in the market?" The old woman nodded her head and said, "Yes, I was going to the market to collect food for myself when I saw this bag. I was about to take it home, but then I thought you might need it more than I do, so I decided to return it." The young man was deeply touched by her honesty. He couldn't believe that someone would leave behind their dinner just to return his lost bag. He said, "You don't have to do that. You can keep it. I'm sure you need it more than I do." The old woman shook her head and said, "No, I found it. So you must take it back. Please don't try to convince me otherwise." The young man insisted again, but the old woman refused. Finally, he gave up and said, "All right, if you really want to return it, then tell me where exactly you found it. I'll go there and search for it." The old woman pointed towards the market and said, "I found it near the fish cellar. You should go look for it there." The young man thanked her and went to look for the bag. But it was no use. The bag was nowhere to be found. He came back and told the old woman, "I've searched everywhere, but I can't find the bag anywhere. Do you mind if I ask you one question?" The old woman asked, "What is it?" The young man said, "I want to know who you are. I've never seen you before, and today you have shown such kindness and honesty that I am eager to know more about you." The old woman smiled and replied, "I'm an ordinary old woman who lives under a bridge nearby. I spend my days begging for food and my nights sleeping under the bridge. That's all there is to me." The young man was surprised to hear that. He couldn't believe that someone could be so poor and still so kind. He said, "You know what? I think I can help you. Why don't you come live with me? I'll take care of you and you can help me in my work. In return, I'll give you food and clothes and you can finally have a place to call home." The old woman was shocked after hearing his words. She couldn't believe that someone would offer her a home. She had never had a proper house and had always slept on the streets, but now someone was offering her a place to stay. She couldn't refuse his offer. She said, "Thank you so much. I would love to come with you." They both got up and the young man asked, "So where do you live?" The old woman pointed towards the bridge and said, "That's my home." The young man took her hand and said, "Come with me. I'll show you your new home. He led her to his home, which was just a few minutes away. It was a small but cozy house, and the young man immediately showed her the room where she would be staying. Here, you can keep this bag of grain with you, and tomorrow we'll go to the market together and buy everything else you need. The old woman was overwhelmed by his kindness. She couldn't believe that she would finally have a place to stay. That night, she slept peacefully for the first time in years. From the next morning, the old woman started living with the young man. She helped him with household work, and in return, he gave her food and clothes. She was very happy in her new home. She couldn't thank the young man enough for his kindness. One day, the old woman was cooking food when the young man came into the kitchen. He was looking sad, and the old woman asked, "What happened?" The young man sighed and said, "I haven't been able to find a bag of grain anywhere. I need it urgently, so I thought maybe you could help me." The old woman was confused. She asked, "How can I help you?" "You know, I'm just an ordinary old woman." The young man explained, "I need a bag of grain to make an offering to God. Our village is going through a drought, and I want to pray to God to save our crops, but I can't find a bag of grain anywhere. That's why I thought maybe you could help me." The old woman understood what he was asking for, and her heart sank. She knew that if she gave away her grain, she would have nothing to eat for the rest of the month. But how could she refuse the young man? He had given her a home when she was homeless. How could she say no to him? Thinking for a moment, she said, "I do have a bag of grain, but I don't think it's enough. I'll bring it to you later today." The young man was surprised to hear that. He couldn't believe that she had brought the bag of grain with her. When the old woman returned, she handed the bag of grain to the young man and said, "Here you go. This is all I have. I hope it's enough." The young man was moved by her kindness. He couldn't believe that she would give him her only possession. He thanked her and said, "Don't worry, I won't let you go hungry. We'll buy some more grain from the market." Later that day, the young man went to the temple and made the offering. The priest was very happy to receive such a generous offering and wished the young man good luck. After the ceremony, the young man returned home. He felt guilty for asking the old woman to give away her only possession. He thought of buying some more grain from the market, but he knew that it wasn't enough. He needed something more valuable to make another offering. He thought for a moment and then had an idea. He went into his room and brought out a small wooden box. He handed it to the old woman and said, "Please take this. It's all I have to give you." The old woman was confused. She asked, "What is this?" The young man said, "It's a gift for you. Please accept it." The old woman hesitated for a moment, but then she took the box and opened it. Inside, she found a beautiful golden necklace. It was so heavy that she almost dropped it. The old woman was shocked to see such a valuable necklace. She couldn't believe that the young man would give her something so expensive. She said, "No, I can't accept this. You must keep it with you." The young man shook his head and said, "No, please take it. You deserve it more than I do." The old woman was touched by his kindness and accepted the necklace. She hugged the young man and said, "Thank you so much. I will never forget this." The young man smiled and said, "You don't have to thank me. I am the one who is lucky to have you in my life." The old woman stayed with the young man for many years. She never forgot his kindness and always prayed to God to bless him.